Good evening, everyone. It's Lana. How are you doing today? Today we're going to discuss Ergo the Ego. So what most people don't stop to think about is ego is time. Time is ego. Because the ego likes to confine and restrict and control everything in its awareness. Good evening. So it's funny how that ego, it just wants to put labels. It wants to put things into a box because it's its subtle way of feeling like it has control. And time is probably one of the biggest ones that it controls with. But it's subtle, right? Because we're all confined with the amount of time we have, don't have enough time. Everything revolves around our time. And time is energy, but time is also man-made. Even you can admit, as you get older, as time has gone on, doesn't it seem like time is sped up? It feels like time is getting away from us. We never have enough of it. So let's look at this for a moment. Because it's not about the quality or the deep indescribable connection that we value. It's because of this indescribable that it cannot be confined. But the ego again wants to pull everything into its box because that's where it feels its comfort zone. So a lot of times what we're doing is we're reaching out and looking at everything around us, and we're taking in through our senses what is happening. And at every moment, we're comparing every experience external to us, even in our thoughts, we're comparing it through the filters of our own experiences, our own realities, because that's what shapes how we judge, how we label what's going on. Is based on what we've already experienced in our lives. It's the dictator, let's say, right? That ego can be so attached, so addicted to the story, that it fails to recognize that the story only repeats itself when you're attached to it. The lessons, the experiences are not related to Murphy's Law. They're related to your addiction and attachment to what you've previously already experienced. You're going to repeat a lesson the more you think, well, this is what happened, so this is what's going to happen. But the minute we can walk back, take a moment to step back and recognize that there are those times in your life that you're surprised because you're not right, because the ego wants to be right. It doesn't care about being happy. That's the heart. That's the soul. Happiness is something you have to choose. And the ego most of the times is reaching out there to find things to prove itself important, prove itself right, to feel better than others. Because that actually is a showing of an insecurity within. And if you really tap into it, the ego's very insecure, the more it's actually trying to put those boxes and labels around things. When you think something is wrong or bad, or you're putting that ego-related label onto it, what you're really saying is, I don't feel I resonate with that. It doesn't feel good to me. I feel insecure inside. And that's a big one right there. Your ego is always expressing this need to feel secure by being in control, which is a false sense of reality, because nothing is under our control ultimately, except for our response or reaction to things. So we have that opportunity to choose to be happy. And when the ego turns around and spouts out, that's bad, I don't like that, I have to judge that in a negative way because it makes me feel better inside about myself. It's like, take a step back and recognize that ego is very insecure. It feels like if it can create this self-importance, it'll continue to live. It'll thrive. But haven't you ever noticed how exhausted you can be from a day? And it's mostly because you spend so much time creating this stress. And it's all ego related. What's the number one cause of illness and heart disease in this world? Ultimately, it's stress. And it's all self-created. It's all created up in the mind. It's not necessarily the food, because even the food that you reach for is going to be related to your ego. Well, this is what I have to eat because that's what I've always eaten. And don't tell me what to do because, darn it, I'm going to eat that. When in reality, you know how it's going to make you feel later, whether it's good or bad for you. And so this exhaustion that comes from expending energy, reaching out, looking for things to be right about, for the ego to feel it's so important. That's exhausting. And the more exhausted you walk home from your day, you arrive home, you go, wow, I'm just drained. You might want to stop and think, how much energy did I expend on judging the day, on judging these experiences, on judging these people? Letting this monkey mind, this ego go on its little rampage can be very exhausting. Because you can say you don't like something someone's doing, but the more energy you spend on what you dislike, it drains you. The more energy you expend on something that you do enjoy, that you love, that brings you passionate joy, that don't you notice that it energizes you? You feel like you could keep on going. You're with your best friends. You're living in your full expression of joy, love, creativity. You get lost in it, don't you? And you don't feel drained. You could go on for days. This is the difference between the ego and the heart. It's where you're tapped into, tuned on, turned on. I love the way Abraham Hicks says, are you tapped in, turned on, and tuned in? I mean, really, that's the bottom line. Can you recognize where you are expending your energy? Is it through stress, or is it through passion and creating and finding the solutions in life where, okay, an obstacle pops up. It's steering me in a better direction and a better route for my life. That's actually more exciting when you think about it. So, and I love this little meme. You've probably all seen them. Let that shit go, homie. You don't need it. Stress is something self-created. So choose the joy in your life. Expend your energy on something that makes you happy. And I just want you to remember that if you can get the ego in check, your life will move much smoother. Because all you have is right here and right now. And the more present you are in this moment and appreciating all the gifts that your life has brought to you here and now, that's where the power is. The personal power is when we unite in joy for a cause of good. Not for the cause against, not rage against the machine, because even that is draining and exhausting. And the more attention you put on that which you dislike or fighting the injustices, and I'm not saying there's no purpose in some of that, but I want you to understand that the more you work toward the peace and the joy, it's like creating something that is infectious. And it draws other people in. It takes them away from wanting to be in that other space of constant argument, So I really tapped into something special the other day, and really the true healing steps to life recovery are when you can allow, accept, and appreciate. These are the keys to life, truly. When you accept where you're at and others where they're at, you can allow life to flow. And the more you allow life to flow, the more you can appreciate the beauty in the life that you're living. So I hope you're all enjoying a beautiful evening here, Tuesday. I'm excited. I realized it's very simple. I'm not here to correct or corral people into what I consider the most ideal living of life, because, that's the subtlest form of control, is thinking I know better for another person. But if I can live my life in my authentic essence, my purity of who I am, with self-awareness, self-love, self-compassion, and self-acceptance, that's what inspires people. Living in your truth, being who you were meant to be. So, many blessings. I love you all. Share my video. Let me know what you're interested in talking about or what you would like me to discuss. Many blessings of love and joy. Peace to y'all. Ergo the Ego.